So I was catching up with an old friend the other day, and we got into a conversation about why therapy didn't work for him. Immediately, I felt a really strong urge to convince him not to give up and to prove how life-changing it could be to find the right therapist. But then I took a moment to reflect on my own journey, and I realized it hasn't been easy for me either. Over the past 5 years, I've switched therapists more than 10 times, tried multiple platforms, and once gave up on therapy for over a year. Deciding to try therapy and being open to the process feels like a big step, but finding the right therapist and truly benefiting was so much harder than I thought. If you're watching this video, you might have given some thoughts about therapy already, whether positive or negative. Maybe you're looking to give it a try. Maybe you've heard really horrible things about it. Here, I want to share why therapy doesn't work for many people and the 5 steps for you to find the right therapist. Let's begin. Hi everyone, my name is Lydia. Welcome to my channel. I am a former management consultant currently recovering from burnout. If you find my content helpful, please like and subscribe to my channel. It means a lot to me, thank you. By now, I've shared with you that I've been in therapy for years, yet I still experienced a severe burnout in my consulting career. This brings us to the first reason why therapy doesn't work sometimes. It fails to induce behavior change. No matter how good your therapist is or how dedicated you are to showing up at every therapy session, if you're not prepared for actual behavior change, the effects of this 1-hour weekly session can be very minimal to your overall physical and mental well-being. In my experience, I learned all about self-care during therapy. Every week, I discovered very detailed techniques about how to speak up for myself when feeling overwhelmed, how to establish boundaries and communicate openly. However, I turned back into my day-to-day life, conducting business as usual. And whenever a situation arises that I should stand up for myself, I never allowed myself to really do it. I never applied any of the techniques I've learned. This lack of behavior change meant that, aside from my therapy sessions, I was living my life the same way and thinking the same thoughts. Therapy alone couldn't possibly save me. The second reason that therapy doesn't work is the most common, the mismatch between you and your therapist. For me personally, I didn't really open up to any therapist or find them helpful until I met someone who has the cultural competency to understand my immigrant background. Up until then, I felt like I was obligated to pretend to be someone that I wasn't in order to earn their approval. This mismatch can also be the therapeutic style. The therapist might not be skilled in treating the primary concerns you have, and they could set up treatment agendas that aren't necessarily aligned with your goals. With the importance of behavior change and a good match in mind, let's talk about the steps to find a good therapist or the right therapist for you. First and foremost, the most important thing, regardless of the credentials, qualifications, years of experience, is that you feel comfortable opening up to your therapist. Obviously, give it a couple sessions, but if you still feel like you're nervous or you need to pretend, this might not be the right person for you. Remember, it's the therapist's job to earn your trust and build a relationship. If it's not working, it's okay to move on. Especially if you tend to people please, be mindful not to let this get in the way of finding a good therapist who can truly help you. Sticking with someone you cannot be honest with is very costly, both financially and mentally. The second component is what I call continuity of treatment. Pay attention to whether your therapist gives you genuine care and, most importantly, remembers what you've shared with them. This is a common issue I've experienced on platforms like BetterHelp and Talkspace. Due to their telemedicine business model, it kind of runs like Uber rides, where the therapists may not have time to thoroughly review your charts before each session and complete your charts after. It feels like I have to repeat myself very often. For example, I had shared my medical history with a therapist and my current main concerns, and she'd come back next session asking me for the exact same information. This can be very frustrating, sometimes demoralizing, feels like a waste of time. Obviously, we can't expect them to take detailed notes, recall everything, but the bottom line is to ensure the continuity of the treatment, which is crucial for effective therapy. Going back to my earlier points, I believe having a therapist with similar backgrounds as yours can be incredibly helpful. My first few therapists were older white women who were incredibly kind and nice to me, but I had to spend a lot of time explaining myself to them, like my upbringing, my cultural roots, some of the Asian values and stuff. It wasn't until I found a therapist with a similar background to mine that I truly felt understood. She just gets me so well, and sometimes so well that it gives me goosebumps. This level of understanding is unfortunately not something one can learn through years of experience, which means finding someone that shares your background can sometimes be more beneficial than finding someone with higher qualifications or credentials. I do want to acknowledge that it can be incredibly difficult to find a therapist that matches your backgrounds. If you're a woman of color, if you're an immigrant, if you are historically underrepresented minority, that's something we really need to be working on. But the hopeful thing is there is a growing community of diversity in the world of psychotherapy, and I really encourage you to go out there and give it a try. The fourth component is to look for alignment of goals. It's a red flag if a therapist tries to push you into a treatment plan that you're not ready for. Sometimes, even if more frequent sessions or more intensive treatments may be beneficial, you won't actually gain much if you're just not ready for it. This is not like a dental visit where the dentist decides to do the right thing and fix your tooth without your consent. To be able to benefit from therapy, you have to buy into the process. Therapy and meaningful behavior just can't be forced. If your therapist's goals do not align with yours, you have to speak up. They might not have bad intentions, but could just be inexperience. Either way, don't go into a direction you're not comfortable with. It could do more harm than good, honestly. And finally, going back to the behavior change I kept pointing to, the right therapist is someone who helps you make positive change outside of therapy, not just someone who makes you feel good during the session. This actually took me a long time to figure out. You are here! I understand there is emotional value simply just talking to someone. But honestly, the price of therapy is just not justifiable if you're not benefiting from the session outside of therapy in the long term. Think of it like a massage. A relaxing aroma massage feels great, but it doesn't have lasting benefits. You might feel relaxed momentarily and sort of glow up after the session, but the effects really don't last. In contrast, a deep tissue massage might be uncomfortable, but you'll walk away from the session with much better healed muscle tension, improved posture, and resolved knots in your back. Similarly, a good therapist might challenge you during sessions, but you will experience real positive life changes as a result. So how does behavior change actually happen? For me, it really happened when I uncovered my underlying issues and quit working really long hours to heal from my insecurities and overworking tendencies. There are many paths to behavior change, like exposure therapy, cognitive behavior therapy, CBT, and mindfulness practices, meditation, all of that. The important thing is to determine whether your therapist is actively helping you improve your life, break bad habits, and change your current situation. Basically, do you walk out of therapy living your life differently and seeing the world from a different lens? If your therapist seems happy just to talk to you for an hour each week without really pushing for real progress or changes, it might be time to find a new one. Thank you for being here. What are your thoughts and experiences with therapy? Please share in the comment section below. I'll see you next time.